The warning klaxons blared across Earth's orbital defense grid, 37 seconds too late. Admiral Marcus Cole's coffee cup shattered on the command deck floor as the first impact tremors rocked the United Earth Strategic Network headquarters. "Report," he barked, grabbing a console to steady himself. The holographic displays flickered, then resolved into a nightmare. Multiple warp signatures materializing in high orbit, Lieutenant Cho announced, her fingers flying across the interface. "If identifies Zeperian Dominion dreadnoughts, 2030. No," her voice cracked. "Over 50 capital ships, sir." On the main viewer, the sleek black and crimson vessels unfolded like deadly flowers. Their plasma lances glowed white, hot as they aligned firing solutions. Captain Elias Vance's face appeared on a secondary screen, the bridge of the USN Retribution shaking behind him. "Admiral, they're ignoring all hails. Their weapons are..." The transmission dissolved into static as the first lance struck. New York died first, a searing beam of star. Hot plasma punched through the atmosphere, vaporizing Manhattan in an eye blink. The shockwave rippled outward, toppling skyscrapers like dominoes. Shanghai followed, then Moscow, Berlin. Cole watched the carnage unfold on the tactical displays, each city's name blinking red before vanishing from the network. His knuckles turned white around the railing. "All orbital batteries. Return fire," he ordered. The human defense platforms unleashed a storm of missiles and railgun slugs. Most disintegrated against Zeperian Point defense screens. The few that got through barely scorched the alien hulls. Shields at Feichou reported. The Beijing just went dark. Mumbai reports catastrophic. A deafening impact cut her off. The command deck lurched violently, throwing Cole against a console. Emergency lighting bathed the room in blood, red hues. Vance's face reappeared, his uniform singed. "Retribution's taking heavy damage, Admiral. Their plasma cannons are cutting through our armor like..." Another explosion interrupted him. "We can't hold them." Cole opened a fleet-wide channel. "All remaining ships fall back to Rally Point Gamma. Execute emergency protocol midnight." A new voice crackled across the comms, deep, guttural, dripping with alien smugness. Pathetic. The main viewer switched to a towering Zeperian clad in ornate crimson armor. High Prelate Vexis's 4 eyes gleamed with triumph as he surveyed the burning planet below him. "Admiral Cole, was it?" Vexis's translator rendered his clicks and hisses into perfect English. "Your species should never have reached for the stars. Look upon your failure." The feed split, showing real-time footage of Earth's dying cities. A Zeperian drone zoomed in on Times Square, where panicked crowds stampeded over each other as firestorms consumed the streets. Cole's jaw tightened. "This is an act of war, Prelate." Vexis emitted a sound like grinding bones. "Laughter or implies competition. This," he gestured at the destruction. "This is pest control." The Retribution's bridge appeared again, now filled with smoke. Vance coughed, blood trickling from his temple. "Admiral, they're targeting the..." The transmission cut abruptly as the Retribution's icon winked out on the tactical display. Cho gasped. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy spikes from their flagship. They're charging some kind of..." Cole didn't let her finish. "All personnel abandon station, evacuate immediately." As the crew scrambled for escape pods, Vexis's face loomed large on the main screen. "Let the galaxy witness this moment," he declared. "Earth is broken. Humanity kneels." The last thing Cole saw before the explosion was the Zeperian flagship's main weapon firing, a concentrated beam of pure annihilation lancing toward Earth's surface. Then everything went white. 3 light years away, in the darkened control room of Lunar Shipyard Alpha, a single red light began to blink. Protocol Midnight was active. The crystalline chambers of the Galactic Federation hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species conversing at once. Holographic displays flickered above the central dais, each showing the same devastating images, smoldering ruins where human cities once stood. orbital platforms torn apart by plasma fire, the blackened scars across Earth's surface where Zephyrian lances had struck deep. Ambassador Lyra Telan adjusted her bioluminescent frills, the patterns shifting from calm blue to irritated violet as the debate droned on. The Vorak delegation, led by General Korthax, had already claimed 3 sectors of human space as stabilization zones. The Tarkelians were arguing over mining rights to the asteroid belts. No one spoke of the dead. Lieutenant Cara Vasquez stood near the observation rail, her left arm in a sling, the burns on her face still raw under hastily applied med. Gel, the Federation guards had tried to stop her at the door. Humans weren't permitted in closed sessions, but Shed shoved past them with the last of her strength. Now she watched as alien delegates traded human territory like credits in a casino. Item Fabi, droned the Federation's synthetic moderator, reallocation of Sol System's outer planetary resources. The Zephyrian Dominion has submitted claim to. Kara's fist slammed onto the rail. The sound echoed through the chamber, cutting through the chatter. A dozen alien eyes turned toward her. You're dividing our home while it's still burning. She spat. General Korthax's chitinous mandibles twitched in amusement. He didn't even rise from his hover throne. Your species had no fleet, no shields, he sneered, his voice like grinding stone. This was inevitable. Ambassador Telan shot him a warning glance. But Kara was already stepping forward. The pain in her ribs flared with every movement, but she refused to limp. I was in New York when the first lance hit, she said, her voice steady. I pulled 17 people from the rubble before the second strike buried them. You want to know what's inevitable, General, that humanity remembers who stood by while children burned. A ripple of discomfort passed through the chamber. The Tarkelian delegate's tendrils recoiled. Telan cleared her throat. Lieutenant Vasquez, the Federation grieves for your losses, but the strategic reality. Kara laughed, the sound harsh and broken. You let the Zephyrians walk into Sol System like it was a vacation resort. No warnings, no protests. And now you're rewarding them. Korthax finally stood, his armored carapace scraping against the throne. Enough. Your emotional outbursts are irrelevant. The Zephyrian Dominion has demonstrated military supremacy. The Vorak hegemony will not contest their territorial claims. He turned to Telan. Move to vote. Kara's hands clenched. She'd seen this same arrogance before, on the faces of Zephyrian troopers as they marched through the ashes of Moscow. Then, from the back of the chamber, a new voice cut through the tension. Interesting definition of supremacy. Every head turned. A holographic feed flickered to life above the dais, unauthorized, bypassing Federation security protocols. The image showed the wreckage of a Zephyrian dreadnought. Its black and crimson hull split open like a gutted fish. Human warships, sleek, angular, utterly unfamiliar, moved through the debris field. Kara's breath caught. Admiral Marcus Cole's face appeared on the feed, his uniform crisp, his eyes cold. This is the US in retribution, he said. To the Galactic Federation, any species attempting to claim human territory will be considered hostile. To the Zephyrian Dominion, he smiled. We're coming. The feed cut out silence. Korthax's claws dug into the armrests of his throne. Telan's frills flashed panic. Red and Cara Vasquez, for the first time in 3 months, smiled. The lunar dust hadn't settled in centuries. Not until today. Admiral Marcus Cole stood in the bunker's observation blister, his reflection ghostly against the reinforced glass. Below him, the moon's pockmarked surface stretched endlessly, bathed in cold sunlight. His fingers tightened around the datapad displaying Earth's burning cities. The Zephyrian broadcast still echoed in his skull. Humanity kneels. A chime sounded. Commander Jace Riker's voice crackled over the comm. Admiral, Phase 3 is ready. Cole didn't turn. Do it. Somewhere beneath the regolith, ancient machinery grown to life. The moon shivered. Zephyrian scout drone X-Fay had been drifting silently in high lunar orbit for 6 standard cycles. Its sensors were tuned to detect residual heat signatures, radio chatter, any sign of human resistance. The Dominion's War Council had declared Earth pacified. X-Face task was confirmation. Then the moon moved. Fissures spiderwebbed across the Mare Ingenie. Gigantic hexagonal plates slid apart, revealing cavernous mouths of black alloy. X-Phase processors scrambled to recalibrate. Error. No prior geological activity. The first ship emerged, sleek, angular, a dagger of blackened steel and dormant weapon ports. The designation along its flank glowed crimson, USN Vengeance. X-Face transmission burst was frantic. Anomaly detected lunar surface. A second ship rose, then a third, dozens, hundreds. The USN Harbinger, the USN Oblivion, the USN Phantom, Riker's ship, its railgun arrays humming to life as it locked onto the drone. X-Face final transmission was a single, distorted pulse. They were waiting. Then the Phantom fired. Riker's bridge was silent as the Zephyrian drone vaporized. His crew, hand-picked from the black projects buried under Mars and Ceres, exchanged grim smiles. On the main display, Earth's night side still burned. "All ships reporting ready," said Lieutenant Cho, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Vengeance fleet is at 98% operational capacity." Riker leaned forward. "Time to Dominion staging grounds." 8 hours at maximum burn," replied Nav Officer Petrov. "They're clustered around Jupiter's Trojans celebrating." A murmur ran through the bridge. Riker didn't need to hear it. Every soul aboard had seen the footage. New York's skyline collapsing, Shanghai's harbor boiling. Admiral Coles on the line. Comms Officer Hale announced. The main screen flickered. Coles' face appeared, his eyes shadowed but sharp. "Commander, sir." Riker straightened. "Fleet is green. We're ready to—" "I know." Cole's voice was quiet, deadly. "But we do this right. Not a single Zephyrian ship leaves the system alive." Riker nodded. "Orders, take the Phantom ahead. Silent running. I want their comms jammed before the main fleet arrives." Cole's image flickered as lunar dust rattled the bunker's ancient power grid. "And Jace, sir? Make sure they see us coming." Aboard the USN Harbinger, Captain Elias Vance watched the fleet mobilize through his viewport. The ships were unlike anything the Federation had ever documented. No graceful curves, no shimmering shields. Just brutal angles and weapons grown fat on decades of secret research. His XO Commander Lay exhaled sharply. "Think they'll surrender when they see this?" Vance snorted. "After what they did to Earth?" He tapped the console, bringing up targeting data. "No, this ends one way." The Harbinger's railgun capacitors whined as they charged. 300,000 kilometers away, the last functioning Zephyrian patrol drone caught the first energy spike. It relayed the data automatically to the Dominion's Will flagship of the occupation force. Onboard Admiral Zorath dismissed the alert. Another human remnant, no doubt, perhaps a stray defense platform. His second, in command, Prelate Vix, hesitated. The signature matches no known. The USN Phantom decloaked directly above them. Riker's voice blasted across every Zephyrian channel. "Hello, Conquerors miss us." Then the human fleet opened fire. The retribution hung in the void like a blade unsheathed. Captain Elias Vance stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Zephyrian fleet orbited the ruins of Mars, their black and crimson dreadnoughts gleaming under the distant sun. They hadn't even bothered to raise shields. "Target lock confirmed," Lieutenant Cho announced, fingers dancing over her console. "Railguns charged to full capacity." Vance allowed himself a slow, cold smile. "Fire." The Retribution shuddered as its massive railguns unleashed their payload. Tungsten slugs the size of freight cars accelerated to a fraction of light speed. The Zephyrian flagship Dominions Will never saw it coming. The first round punched through its forward shields like they weren't even there. The second shattered its armored prow. The third tore straight through the bridge. Alarms blared across the Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Zorath's hologram flickered to life on the Retribution's view screen, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. "Human vessel, cease fire immediately. You dare attack the Zephyrian Dominion." Vance leaned forward. "You bombed our cities. You burned our homes. You thought we wouldn't fight back." Zorath's mandibles twitched. "Your pitiful fleet was destroyed at Earth. These ships are not the ones you were expecting." Vance finished. "Helm, bring us about. All batteries. Target their engines. I want them dead in the void." The Retribution's thrusters flared as it turned, its flank guns roaring to life. Plasma bolts streaked across the black, carving into the Zephyrian escorts. One ship exploded in a silent fireball, its debris scattering like shrapnel. "Boarding teams ready, Captain," Commander Riker's voice crackled over the comm. "Launch them," Vance ordered. From the Retribution's belly, a dozen boarding pods shot forth, their thrusters flaring as they homed in on the crippled Dominion's will. The pods slammed into the dreadnought's hull with metallic shrieks, their drills boring through armor plating. Inside, armored Marines in black and gold combat suits checked their rifles. Sergeant Harlow keyed his squad's channel. "Remember, no prisoners unless they beg real nice." The Marines burst into the Zephyrian ship, their boots clanging against the deck. The aliens recoiled, their exoskeletons glistening under the emergency lights. They raised their plasma casters, but human bullets tore through them before they could fire. Harlow kicked open the engineering bay door. "All right, boys. Let's introduce them to close quarters combat." A Zephyrian officer lunged at him, serrated limbs flashing. Harlow sidestepped, grabbed the alien's arm, and snapped it backward with a wet crack. The officer screeched as Harlow drove his combat knife into its thorax. "That's for New York," he growled, back on the bridge of the Retribution. Vance watched the carnage unfold on the tactical feed. The Zephyrian fleet was in disarray, their formation crumbling under the relentless assault. Another human ship, the Harbinger, slid into position beside the Retribution, its missile bays opening. "Admiral Cole's orders are clear," Vance said. "Total annihilation. Weapons free." The Harbinger's missiles streaked away, their warheads detonating against the Zephyrian carriers. One ship after another vanished in flashes of light, their hulls rupturing under the onslaught. Zorath's hologram reappeared, his image flickering wildly. You cannot do this. The Galactic Federation will." "The Federation already wrote us off," Vance interrupted. "Just like you did." He turned to his comm officer. "Open a channel to the Dominion's will." The screen shifted to show the Zephyrian bridge in chaos. Smoke filled the air, consoles sparked, and bodies littered the deck. The Marines had reached the command center. Zorath backed away as Harlow stepped into view, his rifle smoking. "Captain says you got something to say," the sergeant said, grinning behind his visor. Vance's voice cut through the chaos. "You bombed our cities," he said, cold as the void. "Now meet our architects." Harlow raised his rifle. The last thing Zorath saw was the barrel flashing. The Dominion's will's reactors went critical moments later, the explosion lighting up the void like a second sun. The remaining Zephyrian ships broke formation, scattering like insects. Vance didn't let them run. "All ships, pursue and destroy, leave nothing." The human fleet surged forward, their engines blazing. The hunt had only just begun. The Galactic Federation's observation chamber hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species murmuring in shock. Ambassador Lyra Telan's delicate fingers trembled as she adjusted the holographic display, the floating screens flickering with live battle feeds from the Sol system. The images showed sleek human warships, ships the Federation's intelligence reports had claimed didn't exist, tearing through Zephyrian battle formations with terrifying precision. Cara Vasquez stood near the back of the chamber, her bandaged hands clenched into fists. The medics had wanted to keep her in the infirmary, but she'd torn the IV from her arm when she heard the news. Now she watched as the same alien delegates who'd dismissed humanity's survival just hours earlier now leaned forward in their adaptive seats. their various sensory organs twitching with disbelief. Impossible, General Korthax hissed, his chitinous plates rattling. The Vorak commander's 4 eyes darted between screens showing different angles of the battle. Those ships match no known human design in our databases. A plasma explosion flared across the main display as the USN Retribution carved through the Dominion's will, its railgun rounds punching clean through the Zephyrian flagship's armor. The chamber's acoustics carried every scream of the dying alien crew as their atmosphere vented into the void. "Database is outdated," Kara said, her voice cutting through the murmurs. Every alien head turned. She limped forward, ignoring the pain shooting up her leg where shrapnel still lodged beneath the synth flesh bandages. "Those are Vengeance class dreadnoughts. We've been building them in secret for 20 years. Ambassador Telan's bioluminescent markings pulsed blue with surprise. "But your economy, your resource reports." "We're falsified," Kara said. She tapped her wristpad, and new data streams flooded the displays. Shipyard schematics from Luna's dark side, mineral extraction logs from the asteroid belt, all carefully hidden behind civilian mining operations. Every colony shortage was a lie. Every failed defense project diverted materials here. The chamber's ambient temperature dropped as the reality settled over the assembled delegates on screen. The human fleet moved with terrifying coordination, their formation shifting like a single organism. Zephyrian plasma lances flared and dissipated harmlessly against shimmering energy shields far more advanced than anything the Federation had seen. Korthax's mandibles clicked rapidly, a Vorak sign of distress. Those shield harmonics, they're adapting mid-burn. That technology was theoretical. "Not to us," Kara said. She watched as the USN Harbinger unleashed its main battery. A dozen tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic velocities. The projectiles struck a Zephyrian orbital fortress, the kinetic energy converting instantly to heat as the station's core detonated in a fireball visible from Mars. A Cerelian delegate's floating orbs contracted in horror. They're not just defending, they're systematically dismantling the entire Zephyrian armada. On the central display, Admiral Cole's face appeared, his image transmitted from the bridge of the USN Nemesis. The scars on his face stood out starkly against the battle lighting. "Federation Council," he said, his voice calm but edged with something terrible. "You're watching live footage of the Zephyrian Dominion's second fleet being erased from existence. This concludes the demonstration portion of today's proceedings." Kara couldn't help the grin spreading across her face as the chamber erupted into chaos. The normally dignified delegates shouted over each other in a dozen languages, their carefully maintained diplomatic protocols forgotten. Only Telan remained still, her large eyes fixed on Kara with new understanding. "You planned this," the ambassador whispered. "You let them attack Earth." Kara met her gaze without flinching. "We needed the galaxy to see what happens when someone pushes humanity too far." She gestured to the screens where the last Zephyrian ships were being hunted down by swarms of human fighters. "Now, everyone knows. We don't just take hits, we return them." General Korthax suddenly appeared at Kara's side, his earlier arrogance gone. His scent glands emitted the Vorak equivalent of a peace offering, a sour citrus, like odor that signaled deference. "Lieutenant Vasquez," he said, carefully pronouncing her rank with newfound respect. "The hegemony wishes to renegotiate our trade agreements." Kara didn't answer immediately. She let the moment stretch, watching as the final Zephyrian dreadnought broke apart under concentrated railgun fire. The explosion cast flickering light across the chamber's occupants, illuminating faces frozen in various expressions of awe and fear. "Funny," Kara said at last, turning to face the assembled delegates. "Yesterday you were dividing up our colonies. Today you want to be friends." She tapped her wristpad again, and a new set of documents appeared above the council table. Human terms for surrender, written in the Zephyrian's own blood, red glyphs. "First, you'll watch what happens when we finish this. Then we'll talk." The chamber fell utterly silent as the feed switched to the Nemesis moving into position. Its massive spinal-mounted weapon, a captured Zephyrian planet killer, began powering up, its emitter coils glowing with stolen alien technology. Admiral Cole's voice came through crisp and clear. High Prelate Vexis has 30 seconds to surrender unconditionally. Clock starts now. Tellan's bioluminescence flickered yellow with distress. You can't mean to watch us, Kara said. She didn't blink as the countdown reached 0 on the screens. Outside the observation windows, the distant stars seemed to hold their breath. The bridge of the USN Nemesis hummed with restrained power. Admiral Marcus Cole stood before the main view screen, his reflection staring back at him from the polished black surface. The stolen Zepyrian planet, Killer, glowed beneath the ship, its energy coils pulsing with stolen alien technology. Admiral, Commander Riker said from the tactical station, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the Dominion homeworld. High Prelate Vexis is requesting direct communication. Cole didn't turn. Put him through. The screen flickered. Vexis's scaled face appeared, his crimson eyes wide with something no Zepyrian had ever shown humans before. Fear, Admiral Cole, he hissed. You cannot do this. The Federation will. The Federation is watching, Cole interrupted. Just like they watched when you glassed New York. Vexis's frills flattened against his neck. We were at war. This is genocide. Cole finally turned. His face was granite. No, genocide is what you tried on Earth. This, he gestured to the weapon status display, this is pest control. Alarms blared across the bridge as the Nemesis's targeting systems locked onto the Zepyrian capital. The planet filled the view screen, its sprawling cities glowing like infected wounds against the dark side of the world. Sir, Lieutenant Cho said from navigation, we're being hailed by the Galactic Federation flagship. Ignore them. But Admiral, I said ignore them. Cole's fist slammed onto the armrest. They had their chance to intervene when the Zepyrians were bombing children. They don't get a vote now. Vexis's image flickered. Cole, listen to reason. We'll surrender. You don't understand. Cole said softly. This was never about surrender. He nodded to Riker. Arm the weapon. The planet. Killer's coils flared brighter, casting the bridge in hellish red light. Deep in the Nemesis's belly, stolen Zepyrian technology fused with human engineering, a hybrid of destruction neither species had imagined possible. On the Federation flagship, Ambassador Tellan watched in horror as the feeds came in. The Nemesis hung over Zepyr like an executioner's axe. They can't, she whispered. Even after everything, they can't. Beside her, Kara Vasquez didn't blink. Watch them. Back on the Nemesis, the countdown began. Final sequence initiated, Riker announced. Minus 30 seconds to firing. Vexis was screaming now, his voice distorted by the transmission. You'll make monsters of yourselves. The galaxy will never. The galaxy already thinks we're monsters, Cole said. Might as well earn the title. He leaned forward. You made one mistake, Vexis. You didn't glass all of us. The weapon fired. A beam of pure annihilation lanced downward. It struck the planetary shield first, the Zepyrians' last desperate defense. The shield held for exactly seconds, before failing in a cascade of blue lightning. Then the beam touched the surface, cities vaporized, mountains liquefied. The very atmosphere ignited as the planet. Killer's energy scoured the world clean. On the bridge, the crew watched in silence as Zepyr burned. In the Federation chambers, Korthax's mandibles clicked uncontrollably. They actually did it. Tellan turned to Kara, her tentacles trembling. How could your people do this? This isn't justice. It is. It is a message, Kara said. She pointed to the screen where the Nemesis now turned its attention toward the Federation fleet. For everyone, the transmission from the Nemesis crackled to life across every ship in the system. Cole's face appeared on 1,000 screens. Galactic Federation, he said. You have 1 hour to withdraw from human space. Any alien vessel remaining after that deadline will be considered hostile. He paused. This is your only warning. The channel cut on the Zepyrian homeworld. The fires burned so hot they could be seen from neighboring star systems. The Nemesis powered up its drives, turning slowly toward the Federation armada. Korthax was the first to move. "Recall all Vorak ships," he barked to his officers. "Immediately." Telan watched as Federation vessels began jumping to warp. She looked at Kara. "Your admiral just destroyed an entire civilization." Kara adjusted her uniform, the same one she'd worn when the Federation had dismissed her months ago. "No," she said. "He destroyed the idea that this could be done to us without consequence." She met Talon's gaze. "The civilization part comes next." Outside the viewport, human warships moved into formation around the Nemesis. Their railguns glowed with charged energy. Their missile bays stood open. The galaxy held its breath. The chamber of the Galactic Federation had never been so quiet. The crystalline walls, usually humming with the chatter of 100 species, stood frozen as Kara Vasquez walked toward the central dais. Her boots clicked against the polished floor, the sound echoing like gunfire in the silence. The bandages were gone now, replaced by the crisp black uniform of the United Earth Strategic Navy. The aliens watched her, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed fear. General Korthax's mandibles twitched as she passed his seat. The Vorak delegation had taken up twice their usual space, their armored forms looming over the others. But today, they didn't sprawl. Today, they sat stiffly, their claws folded tight. Kara didn't spare them a glance. Ambassador Lyra Telan rose from her floating podium, her bioluminescent skin flickering with unease. "Delegate Vasquez," she began, her voice carefully neutral. "The Council recognizes Earth's unexpected military resurgence. We are prepared to discuss terms of—" Kara dropped the flag onto the table. The fabric unfurled with a snap, the blue and white of Earth's standard glaring against the Federation's sterile silver. The delegates recoiled as if she'd thrown a live grenade. Korthax actually flinched. "Terms?" Kara repeated. Her voice was calm, deadly. "You mean the terms you were drafting while our cities burned? The ones where you carved up our colonies like a feast for scavengers?" A murmur rippled through the chamber. Telan's frills flattened against her neck. "That was calculated," Kara interrupted. She tapped the table, and the holographic displays flickered to life. The footage played without sound, the Zeperian homeworld cracking apart under the Nemesis superweapon, the Dominion's fleet reduced to drifting wreckage, the human warships standing victorious over the ashes. The aliens had seen it before. It didn't make it any easier to watch. Korthax finally found his voice. "You glassed an entire world," he hissed. Kara turned to him slowly. "And you would have done worse to us if we'd let you." She leaned forward, bracing her hands on the table. "But here is the difference, General. We didn't start this. We didn't bomb your cities. We didn't mock you while you bled." She straightened, sweeping her gaze across the silent council. "But we sure as hell finished it." Outside the panoramic viewport, the sleek silhouettes of human warships glided past in perfect formation. The USN Retribution led the procession, its railgun batteries humming with barely restrained power. The Phantom and Harbinger flanked it, their hulls still scarred from battle. And at the rear, massive and implacable, the Nemesis loomed like a spectre of vengeance. Telan swallowed hard. "What does Earth want?" Kara smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "A seat. A real one. Not some token position at the far end of the table." She nudged the flag forward another inch. "And next time someone thinks about testing us, remember what happened to the last species that made that mistake." The silence stretched. Korthax's claws flexed, then stilled. He glanced at the warships beyond the glass, then back at Kara. When he spoke, his voice was unnervingly polite. "The Vorak hegemony recognizes Earth's new standing." One by one, the others followed. The Ceralians with their floating orbs dipped in submission. The Octavians coiled their tentacles in reluctant respect. Even the Vespidians, who had scoffed at human fragility months ago, clicked their mandibles in uneasy agreement. Kara didn't sit. She stood there, the human flag, a stark declaration in the heart of alien power, and let them sweat. Finally, she turned to leave. The delegates parted before her like a tide. At the door, she paused and looked back. Any other species feel like testing us? No one answered.